today I have with me author Raul F.O, and I hope I said that right. I said it as good as I could. But anyway, he is the author of two amazing books that I will have at the next interview because Amazon screwed up my order, but I read them on my Kindle. They're called Trapped, Autumn and Spring. And Raul, I am so happy that I found you on Facebook. I am so happy. These were amazing books, and I can't wait to talk to you about them. So welcome, Raul.
Thank you. I'm very honored to hear that you liked them and to have this interview with you. I was actually very surprised to get that message from you, and I'm very happy that this is happening, actually.
Well, I am so happy that we can chat. Like, are you in Romania right now?
Yeah, I'm in Romania right now.
See, that's the wonder, of Skype, is that we get to do this. And I am in, of course, you probably know, I'm in the United States. I'm in the state of Pennsylvania, and we get to chat. I mean, how great is that?
Yeah, that's a bit crazy, and we still complain about the fact that it doesn't work properly sometimes. So.
Right, we should just be so appreciative. So I found you on an author page. You had commented on something, and I clicked on your name because I thought I liked what you said, and then I was like, oh, he's an author too. So that's how I found you. And your book is like, I'm trying to like put words to it. I can't wait to get the physical copy. I am not a Kindle reader, okay, for the most part. If they wouldn't have screwed up my order, I would have read the physical copies of it, but whatever, I had to read it on Kindle. And I can't wait to see what it looks like, because Kindle doesn't give you the full, to me it doesn't give me the full
experience?
Yes, the full experience of reading the book. But it didn't really matter because I was hooked right away. Your book is so different. I read books every day, Raul. I mean, I'm telling you, tons of books, okay? And I love that you kind of broke the mold of what they would tell you that sells, okay?
Yeah.
You didn't care, and you just did it, and you just went for it. And I have to tell you that the concept behind it is so unique that I just I was like, this is the guy I want to get out there, because, people slip through the cracks, and you are all the way in Romania. So it's like, I want to introduce you here, so people will know about your books here. And so I'm going to let you talk. I'm going to let you explain. Let's talk about autumn today. We're going to do, Raul and I are going to do another interview on spring, because I want to give this full attention. So today we are talking about autumn, and I want you to wrap it up in a nice package, and then I'll ask my questions.
Well, that's a bit hard.
Yes.
The thing, people asking me, well, can you describe the book? How is it? How did you get there? Well, it just sort of happened, and the concept behind it, again, depends, because it depends on the reader very much. If the reader likes a certain genre or is influenced by certain things, he can see the book totally different from what I'm selling him. So what I'm trying to hook him in, even if it's a story about a student that thinks a bit too much, tries to do a bit too much, and gets in a lot of trouble, and on top of that, something supernatural, mystical, or mythological comes along and ruins his life even more. So, yeah, it's weird. Autumn became an idea I had when I went to college, to some courses and classes. It was after a recent breakup, and I always tried to think like, well, why did it go wrong? What did I do that didn't work? So when I started thinking about that certain relationship, I started thinking, well, what if I could go back in time and try to redo something or repair some mistakes? And then it kind of became a short story on my blog. But the way I the format of the story was very well fitted for a comic book, and I didn't have the talent or the time to make it a proper webcomic. So I said, well, I'm gonna take it down, and then I being frustrated with college and not having the possibility to publish through them, or them helping me get published, I started looking into self-publishing. Then I found basically the biggest door there is, Amazon, to publishing books and getting my name out there and trying to do what I like, which is writing. Whether it's, I don't know, maybe in 5 years screenwriting or books or blogging, like I've done blogging for 7 years. Um, I found Amazon, and through Amazon I said, well, I have this story, let's put it out there. Let's try to find a way to publish this book and do it in such a way that it fits being a book. And me studying literature and language, especially English, uh, I was kind of influenced by the authors that I was forced to read, like Don, Shakespeare, and many other great British and American authors. So I told myself, well, how about I take this simple idea they had and the way they had their books wrote in, and try to make something new out of it, because people, uh, like you said, my book tries to break the mold, and that's because I see many people that try to say, well, you see, here's how you use writing, here how you structure the story, here's how you do it all. And I said, well, yes, but that usually, especially if there's a reader like you are that reads a ton of books, it lacks a bit of surprise from my point of view. It doesn't always get you to be like, well, I didn't see that coming, I didn't expect it. So I tried to do it my own way. That's why I also didn't want to go the traditional no publishing route, because I saw this as an opportunity to learn, like, how does publishing work? How does managing um, marketing and writing and criticism and all that directly, without any man there between me and the reader. It's just me, the reader, and, well, Amazon, who provides the books. So any criticism that I get directly. I don't have a publisher that will try to, for example, hide or just take snippets of the negative review and say, well, actually, look, it's a great book, it was a number one seller, or anything like that. So that's how the book started. Then I uh, put it basically into one page, all beginning, middle, end. I had the characters written down, and then I just started writing it. No preparing for anything. I knew where the story starts, I knew where the story was going, and where it would end. So as I started writing it, just about the student that has a difficult life, thinks too much, talks too much, tries to be way too honest, and gets too much backlash, and is a general weirdo. It became it became a bit more and it changed as I wrote it, from just a fool that talks and thinks weird things to someone that is basically a villain in my perspective, because there is no way to like that character, because he's generally an asshole, so to speak. So I thought, well, this is great. And then I added another element, Entity John, which gives the reader another perspective, like judging yourself like you are a stranger, which is quite amazing again, because not many people think about that. And that's how I also tried to see myself when I revisited that relationship. Like, how would that relationship look from an outside perspective? Because many people, especially close friends, will sometimes just take your side of the story. They will just be on your part. There won't be ever someone that will be brutally honest and distant, like, well, you see, you did that wrong, and you shouldn't have done that, you shouldn't have said that, or any kind and sort of this thing. So it grew and it grew. By the end, it looked nothing like that one page that I had at the beginning. Nothing. The character weren't that short 5-word descriptions. The surprises added more and more. I added to their characters and what their purpose was, and it just turned in a thing that I wouldn't have imagined. I read the book like 10 or 15 times, autumn, and I couldn't believe things I wrote there, things I left, like short winks and Easter eggs towards other things, like whether it's a YouTube channel or a book or a play by Shakespeare or a movie or a TV show. I keep finding things to latch on and see from different perspectives. As I said in my presentation about the books, I had a teacher that told me that the Bible is one of the best books because it can be read over and over and over and over again, and you can always find something new. And that stuck with me ever since I was 7 or 8 years old. And I said, well, let's try this. Let's try giving it a new spin. Let's put the reader there in the action, observing, and let him or her fill out the details about the book and see whether they like it or not. Just the fact that they read it and by the end they have an impression, it's just phenomenal. So
yeah, and I have to tell you, okay, I am a lot older than you. I have 6 children, and 4 of them are in their 20s, okay? And my youngest daughter, who's 22, so she's about your age, she is going through a bad breakup, okay? So as I'm reading this, and I'm not knowing, how this is all going to, and I don't want to give away anything, but as a reader, there are times that you find, especially like me, because I'm always on a time deadline, right?
yeah,
That I will skim through a lot of stuff, right? And when I saw your long passages, I was like, okay, I'll read a couple. Oh my God, Raul, I read every word. You had me so, I was like, okay, I'm going to give her this book because I want her to know what goes on inside of a 22-year-old brain. But it wasn't just about that. Because it wasn't just about a 22-year-old brain. The things, the philosophy that you were questioning. But then going back, it was like, okay, so why am I here? Oh, and what's on TV tonight? It's like the back, and it's like exactly how our brains function. You got that down. And that's the part that I loved about it, was that it wasn't just all philosophical. It didn't just cram philosophy down. He was also living life, and he was contemplating death, and then wondering if Game of Thrones was on that night. It was just it was crazy, but it's how I imagine it to be, for a young man. And like you said, I don't know that he's a jerk as much as that I think that you got the 22-year-old man self down. 22-year-old men in a relationship, they are just, and that's what I want to show her. It's not that he's a bad guy. It's just that he doesn't know what he's thinking. He's just all over the place, And then I love that how it went into, what did you say, just because I'm reading the Kindle, I think I missed some of the interpretation where it just says Ed John. What did that mean? What was the Ed? What was the whole word?
E. John.
E. John. Yeah, what was the...
Yeah, E. John is Entity John.
Entity John. Okay, So I miss the entity part. But then when that takes over, when that starts taking over, and the way that he is acting like a father, kind of, like a very highly intelligent version, and the way he's like, you idiot, you should have been doing this with her, and you should have been doing that, and I don't know. I can't say enough good things about this book. I personally can't say enough good things. And so that's why when I get the book, what I want to see mostly when I get the printed version is how you did the text, the dialogue text. Because in Kindle, it's one way. It's always a different way, which is why I always like the books better. But that was also very unique because you were doing it, and correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe in interpretation I'm getting this wrong, but some of it was dialogue talking. Some of it was dialogue texting.
Yeah.
And then, okay, that was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. And I love that you put it, like a lot of people are probably going to tell you different. People that are like, oh no, you can't do that in a book. But as a reader, I really liked it. I really like differences. I don't want to read every book being exactly the same way. I don't want that. I like that you did the dialogue that way. I like that the dialogue was so real. I felt like I was listening to my sons when they were in their early 20s talking to their friends. I absolutely love that. And you apologized a couple of times for the language, but for me, if you didn't use their language, it wouldn't have been believable. There's no way I could have bought into their conversation.
Well, I tried to make it an unfiltered and very realistic view of how people actually think and talk when they're closely together or when they're far apart.
Yeah.
And again, it's a very interesting. It's an outside introspection of your own person when E. John joins the book and changes things up. And that's what I wanted to aim towards, because in many books I see this dialogue that's very well written, well thought out, well narrated, and it's supposed to be a drama or a well written comedy, but it doesn't have that bit of realism in it because it's basically scripted. It's just scripted. It doesn't come natural.
Yes.
So when I wrote it, as I said, I didn't plan, except the plot of it, I didn't plan who says when what.
Right.
I just made it up on the spot as it went along. I was like, well, I shouldn't drag this too long, or I shouldn't do that or say that too much because it might give away the ending too easily to the reader, and I don't want that. I want them to keep reading and be like, well, why did she say that? What does that mean?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I had said in my presentation, I have one line in Trapped Autumn that foreshadows something that happens in a book that I'll publish probably in 8 years' time. Like, that's like 18 books down the river, so to speak.
Well, you know what I'm really happy about is that, and I read a lot of published and self-published books, okay? And sometimes I read a self-published book and I think, oh, they should probably get an editor. But I'm glad you didn't get an editor, because I think they would have cut stuff out of there that you know what I'm saying? Like they like to make it compact, a lot of the stuff. Yeah. And I'm glad that I got to read your version unedited by an editor who thinks that I may not want to read that, or, you know, thinks it's too long at some points, because as I said, you know, and I'm reading it on Kindle, so I will be interested to see how the pages are, but how it is on Kindle, you know, it could be like 3 pages of his thoughts, but I read every word of them. Okay, so it was like, it still kept me right there thinking, what is he thinking? And then the beautiful part is that so the girlfriend May starts to fall in love with Entity John. Okay, and the best part about that is what I can say, like watching my daughter right at the moment, and being a 22-year-old girl, is that that's because the 22-year-old guys are just like John. Like they are not thinking, and they're not like, he already has the experience. He knows what to say to her. He knows how to be vulnerable to her. He knows how well, first of all, he has the gift of time also.
Yeah.
So he does have that. But he sees where things went wrong and how he can, so I love that part of it. And I love, as I'm reading it, I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, so how does he thinking about, wow, how did he come up with this? Like, so I'm really glad to hear, like, how you did. But another thing is I don't, I am a Christian by nature, okay? But are you also a Christian?
Yeah, I'm a Christian.
Okay. I couldn't tell because as I saw the things that you were saying, it didn't matter. It was all very philosophical with every religion. Like anybody who's any religion can read it and get, we all have those same fears. We all are faced with, what are we thinking about death and who is God and where is he and who's in control anyway? We all have that,
Yeah, you'll see in Trapped Spring, there's a, 20-page chapter on the universe, how it started to the present day. I tried to do something like Tolkien or many others that made their own mythology and legends. So I basically took every religion, every belief, and everything and rewrote it.
Yes,
like,
exactly. And
here you go.
Right, and I don't want to talk about spring because that's a whole other conversation we will get into. But I did want to know why you skipped. Okay, when I was going to start reading them, I was like, okay, I got to read spring first. But then I was like, wait, I don't know. And then so I saw that autumn was first, and I was like, what? So is winter and summer coming? Are you writing that?
Well, maybe. We'll see.
Okay.
Anyway, if I'm gonna make the announcement, I will let you know first. I promise.
Yes, please do. So. And so why did you pick autumn to be the first? Like, why? What was your thinking in that?
Well, it was actually inspired by a rock band called Him, or longer put, His Infernal Majesty. Mm-hmm. And they had an album in 2013, I believe, named Trapped in Autumn. And there is a song in that album named Into the Night. And the first verse is Trapped in Autumn. And that's how I fell in love with the song. Then I fell in love with the lyric, and then I said, well, let's use that, and then I used it for the title.
Oh, basically. That's awesome. That's awesome. And you know what, another thing about self-publishing, especially relating to your book that was so awesome, is that it's relevant. You didn't have to wait. A lot of people are like, that I talk to now are like, my book's coming out spring 2018. Okay, well, we don't know what spring 2018 looks like. Okay, we have no idea. And they probably wrote the book in spring 2016. Okay, so they're writing, they go through the editing, and then the publisher says, okay, well, we're holding on to your book for 6 to 8 months, and we'll release it next year. Well, you got to be right up to date with everything. Like, it wasn't about last year. It was about right now. And I always, whenever I think about writing a book, I always think that because I'm always like, well, you can't be too relevant because the book won't come out forever and it won't be. But if you self-publish, you really can make it relevant to what teenagers and college students are going through, people in their young 20s are going through today. Not last year, not next year. It's like right today. And so the shows are current, the YouTube's current, everything is very current. The texting's current. It's not like I like that.
Well, even if those things won't remain current, I think that, well, at least I tried in my book to make them as timeless as possible. That's why I didn't try to put text from May to John, or vice versa, or things like that. I didn't want to give too many structures to the reader, because otherwise with time you'll become like a relic from the past. And I had someone, I posted a short one-page paragraph of um, the books, and someone told me, well, why is it like this? And I explained it, and well, I didn't see it like that. I didn't see John being in college talking to May. I saw something else. I saw those lines of dialogue as being a reference to something I know about, I think about. And that's great. That's what I try to do, because if you're trying just to lure the reader into your story, you'll trap them there, but he'll read it once, he'll read it twice, and maybe he'll remember it fondly, but he won't be so inclined to pick it up again and read it. And let's see how now, after many years, this holds up.
Yes.
Or
wow, I loved it. Okay, I can't even tell
yeah.
you. I mean, I thought it was great. But you know what? We have something a little bit in common. When I was reading your biography, and I see that you're in college, and you know English is your major, and I'm assuming English is probably not your first language, though, is it?
No, 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 no.
But I cannot tell that by the book, which is another interesting thing. I was like, English has to be his first language, because you did not. I couldn't tell, and
Yeah.
so for somebody reading in English, that's awesome. But
Thank you very
you
much.
are minoring in Japanese.
Yeah.
And I am a homeschooling mom. Okay, I've homeschooled all 6 of my children. And one of the language on the Rosetta Stone programs, I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but
Yeah, I heard.
2 years we did Japanese. Because
Yeah.
they were like, they didn't want to pick a Spanish, you know, in the United States, Spanish, French, you know, those are the 2 big ones. And they were like, no, we want to do Japanese. I was like, okay, so I got the Rosetta Stone program. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. What an awesome language, you know?
It is an awesome language and a hard one, and you must have either a lot of patience and determination to learn it, or a great teacher, which sadly in my case isn't the case. So,
well,
yeah.
What made you pick that?
Well, I also know German because I grew up watching a lot of German television, like the TV shows dubbed in German and cartoons and anime dubbed in German. So when I had the chance to enter college, I knew that I would want English, because my idea was I'm gonna go perfect my English and try to make college the next step towards getting published or getting the possibility of writing
Right.
screen to write movies and TV.
Yes.
So when I got there, they asked me, well, what would you like as your minor? And I was like, well, I can go German and perfect that, or I can go something else and learn a new language. So I went with Japanese out of instinct, because I was growing up with those kinds of anime and animation programs, and I thought, well, at least now I could learn to understand them, and it's a very interesting language.
You know what? I think that's why my sons picked it too, because they were watching a lot of those on YouTube,
Yeah.
and they wanted to understand that language a little bit more. And you know, we had fun with it. We did 2 years of it. It was fun.
Yeah.
So anyway, when I saw that, I'm like, not too many people say that, you know, especially from Romania. I don't think, but you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, our time is up, Raul, but we will talk again, and I'm so happy about
Yeah,
that, because
of
I
course.
can't wait to talk about spring. And
Yeah, me neither.
I'll have the books, and I want to show them to everybody, because the covers, what I see, the covers look amazing, but I want to be able to show them off for everybody, and this will be a 2-part series. So anyway, for today, thank you so much, and we will talk soon,
Yeah, no
okay?
problem. Thank you too very much.
Thank you. Have a great day, Raul.
You too.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.